Welcome to the third episode of the Big Red Podcast. I am one of the hosts, Miles. I'm joined today by my other two co-hosts. We have my mother, Lynette, and my sister, Faith. Today we're going to be talking about electric cars. We're going to talk some about the history of electric cars and then also talk about electric cars as they are today and all the things that are going on around that. You guys, in general, what do you guys feel about electric cars?
I mean, I don't really know much about them, but I don't think that I would enjoy driving it that much, especially like where we are, because we don't have very many of like the charging stations. Like I've seen them in other places, but we don't have very many around here, so it would just not be very practical.
That's fair.
Well, first impression, I was unimpressed, but after reading about them, they sound like it could be an interesting kind of thing. So I don't know.
Yeah, I could definitely see at some point driving an electric car, although we'd have to come a little further in terms of being able to practically do it in a place that's not like a city or something. But the speed and the acceleration, that stuff seems pretty cool. But yeah, electric cars, they definitely are hot right now. I don't know if they're hot selling wise, but they're definitely hot in like mind share. With Tesla, of course, but then also it seems like okay. Did you guys watch any of the Super Bowl ads?
No.
You know, I could see them and not hear them. So
It seems like it felt like the Super Bowl this year was split between crypto ads, which were so annoying, and electric car ads. It was like crypto, electric cars, and all the crypto ads were like, you should be bold, spend money, whatever. But all the electric car ads were like, hey, I know we're an old car company like Mercedes or something, but we can also do an electric car. We are going to do it too. No, really, we can also do it. So yeah, I don't know how well they're actually selling, but it is the hot thing to do right now.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's about the media or if it's about the people that really demanding them. So I don't know.
What do you mean by that?
I know that people in the media are very excited about electric cars and crypto too, for that matter. And so they're pushing it.
There's at least a lot of money to be made in crypto. I don't know. I feel like electric cars are car companies at least think it's good to associate their brands with electric cars.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's actually a long-term part of their strategy, but they seem interested in saying, hey, we do it too. I don't know. The way it's being pitched makes it seem like, oh my gosh. Well, I guess sometimes they also say things like, these days they don't hear electric car as much as they hear EV. Yeah, we have an EV.
Right, electric vehicle, same
Yes.
kind of idea.
Maybe they're trying to like distance themselves because electric cars are not new. They're quite old. So
they
like
sure are.
It feels very fresh and new to say, oh, we got EVs. Oh, I feel like half of these car companies probably already made electric cars. It's just they made them, like 60 years ago? So they kind of fell on their faces.
True. Shoot, Henry Ford's wife exclusively drove electric cars from 1908 to 1914. They've been around for a minute.
Yeah. I mean, that's over 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's not... What's up? Yeah.
No, yeah, I was just agreeing.
Yeah, it's not anything new. It's just like, although the electric cars of those days were very different than the electric cars of today still. Yeah, back then there was still a market for electric cars for a while, right? Like there's a reason to buy them.
Yeah, they sounded like something you might want to drive back then. They were quiet. They didn't put out a bunch of black smoke, and so there's that.
Mm-hmm.
They were very slow.
Oh.
20 miles an hour.
20 miles an hour, it's
like parking lot speed. But
yes.
So
it's like about the speed you could get on a bike just riding down the street. So
well, you could get on a bike, but yes.
And then it's like it's even a moped's gonna get you going faster. It's like
exactly.
literally an electric bike. But I mean, at the time, gas cars weren't what they are today either. So it's not like we would compare
It's true.
not like we would compare a Ford F-150 to an electric, basically an electric carriage.
Exactly. I mean, those early electric cars looked a little bit like the Model T, but they look like a carriage without a horse.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it was a fun experiment for the people that built them, and
A fun experiment.
they made some money
see.
off of them too, obviously. But
I mean, was there ever a time in which electric cars were ahead of gas cars?
They were, in a certain sense. Like, I believe it was around that time, 1908 or so, when there were a bunch of 600 electric cars in New York City used as taxis. And there were they had those in some other big cities like Baltimore and Philadelphia.
I guess the downside of speed isn't that bad if you're in a place like New York City.
That's true.
And this is not even today's New York City. This is New York City probably with a lot more horse-drawn carriages and such too. So like going 20 miles an hour is not that bad, and they're quiet, and they're probably more comfortable. Like that's a pretty decent idea for a taxi.
Yeah.
At that time, at least.
Right. They died out because of mismanagement more than, the car itself. So the taxis did.
So the taxi services just didn't work out from a business perspective. I mean, from a business perspective.
Exactly.
And by the time it was time to bring more taxis in, then gas cars were just
right.
ahead.
Gas cars were at a disadvantage when they had the crank starter, and that was kind of dangerous, and so you could break a thumb or a wrist trying to start your car with a crank, and so women preferred like the electric cars.
Okay, I could see that. Okay, but how are you breaking a finger cranking the car? What is the process of doing that? What are we talking about when we say crank?
Well, they had this. It's almost like toys that you wind up. It had that kind of concept in front of the car, and so it could go backwards by accident. It could, it could kick back.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. It sounds annoying. It's not like that's one of those things where it's hard for me to get an idea of just how bad it was because I doubt it was like every time you went to start your car, you're like, man, if I get unlucky, my hand might break. But it's gonna be really hard, and I could definitely see how that would be not very desirable, and also how if it's actually like physically demanding to crank the car, women would prefer not to using
right
a crank starter. Whereas electric cars didn't have to worry about that at all.
Right. They had electric starters. And then I guess once that tech got going, then they were able to put those in the gas cars. And so that combined with they were cheaper to produce and faster to produce, that's how the gas car got the advantage.
And gas cars, okay, when gas cars started to take over, were electric cars still slow as well?
As far as I know, yes.
So it's like, it's like, well, I could spend 3 times as much to get a slow electric car, or I could buy a gas car. It might spit a little bit of smoke up in the air, but I could still start it just fine and actually drive fast.
Right, you know.
Yeah, and when did mufflers come out? Because by the time it's quieter, it's faster, it's cheaper, and there would be no reason to get an electric car.
Yeah. Whoa. I don't know about that. They were also very cool.
But really, they were kind of a symbol of the elite kind of lifestyle. Just a different focus. So, Henry Ford's focus was to get a car in every garage or every household. Whereas gas cars, they weren't concerned with that. I mean, the electric cars weren't concerned with that. They were more about buy our expensive, cool thing,
Yeah.
you know,
So it's
invention.
kind of like I can't think of Bill Gates and the
Exactly.
PC, the personal computer. Because before, I mean, yes, you could get a computer in your house, very expensive, kind of
Mhm.
a luxury item.
Right.
But yeah, so the Model T, the Model T was more focused on economy, and that ended up just straight up winning.
Right.
I mean, there are other advantages to the gas car, but if everybody can drive a gas car, then that kind of changes everything. Do you know, did charging stations even exist back during that time, or were you just kind of locked to wherever you could charge your car personally?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. I assume they were dealing with batteries and changing them out and stuff. I don't even know.
Changing out the battery. All right, well, gotta go to the store and pick up a new battery for my car. Yeah, that's not.
Nope.
Oh,
they
wait
really
a
do seem
minute.
like
They did have
toys.
charging stations at shopping malls because they are
Okay.
encouraging the wealthy women with their fancy cars to come to the mall.
Okay, so they did. So it was actually very similar to today, where like there
Mhm.
are a few places that would have charging stations, but yeah, the gas powered car is a lot more well suited to America as well geographically.
Right.
Like, because I mean, with the gas car came the idea of a road trip or like being able to
Exactly.
travel between states easily. So like the electric car doesn't really allow for that, and
Yeah,
so-
it doesn't even right now seem like a good fit for a car culture. The long trips, you have to make sure you know where you can charge and
yeah,
keep that in mind.
that's fair. Although yeah, it's more, you have to be a lot more careful with that. Plus, the other big thing is time. So like, it takes no time to fill up your tank of gas, but that's not really true, especially with the old style electric cars. It was not very quick to charge up the battery. That's a process.
Right.
Do you know how long it takes to charge up a modern electric car?
It takes about half an hour if you're going to get it 80% full. I don't even know. I think from what I've heard, it's not even feasible to charge your car 100% because it could
Yeah.
damage your battery. So
I could see that.
Mhm.
Plus, like, I don't know a lot about batteries. I'm just going to throw that out. But from what I know of batteries, it is more difficult to charge the more charge that is already in the battery. Like, it's harder to generate that energy. So, anyway, the fact that you have it's a little different, yeah, even if you have charging stations. If you were to say, I want to drive from, let's just say you wanted to drive from California to Illinois. I mean, every time you need to stop to charge up, that's half an hour. You got to find a way to spend half an hour charging up your car.
yeah, that does make more sense. If you're going to the store, you can charge it while you're in the store, I guess.
Yeah.
And so you're there and you say, okay, half an hour to shop and then get
Yeah.
out.
And it's not like you're likely if you're driving to the store, it's not like you're likely even at the end of your radius.
Right.
I mean your radius that you can go to. It's very much it fits very well for in town and like short distance travel, but it doesn't make a lot of sense for longer distance.
Now, even in the history of the electric car, you're right. It was more of a city vehicle.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay, so we have the electric car. It comes out. Did it come out like before or after gas?
Before, they came out around the 1830s even. I think as early as that. Whereas the gas-powered engines, you see them more around the early 1900s.
Okay. So electric cars come out, then gas cars come out and actually popularize the car. They beat the electric car, and the electric car, does it just fade into obscurity until recently, or?
Well, it said it peaked in 1912.
Okay.
And then by 1935, they weren't very popular and they're kind of fading out.
Yeah.
But in the 60s and 70s, they made a little resurgence. A
Okay.
few reasons, right? There was the Clean Air Act of 1970.
Mhm.
And there was an oil embargo, the OPEC oil embargo of 1973,
Mm-hmm.
which made gas prices go through the roof. And then Congress passed something in 1976, the Electric and Hybrid Vehicle Research, Development, and Demonstration Act.
It's a lot of words.
A lot of words. Well, it authorized the Energy Department to support research and development in electric and hybrid cars.
Which that's pretty similar to the environment today. Gas prices are going up again. And I don't know under what acts or anything, but I know that there are tax incentives to making electric and hybrid vehicles.
Right. Just like, I guess there's money for searching for alternative sources of energy, the same kind of concept.
Yeah. So right now it does seem like a similar situation, although how well did it do when they in the 70s? Did it, cuz I don't even remember hearing about this. The most I can remember is like looking at some book that was some like children's book that was like the history of cars, and they had the novelty electric cars that got like a page, and that was it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it looks like, and certainly those cars don't look like they are serious road vehicles. They're just kind of an experiment, or something somebody thought was cool. I don't know.
It's hard. It feels like it's hard to sell the general populace on, hey, this thing that you usually would use every day to get to work, to get to food, to do most things you need to do. Here's a cool toy version. That's not usually what you would want to do.
It's true. I think it goes hand in hand with the whole lifestyle change. You don't need to drive everywhere, and you need to consider walking or taking public transportation or carpooling. Let's, cut back on our car usage. And then one of those kind of toy vehicles would fit in with that pretty well.
I guess. It still feels like even if you're going to cut down on driving, it's like, yeah, I guess if you say, I will not drive a gas car, let me take alternatives. But outside of that, it's like, well, I'm going to try to drive less, so when I do drive, I'm going to have a worse car.
Right. When I do drive, I'm going to put myself out and make it way more inconvenient.
Yeah.
Inconvenient.
It's like, I don't know. They from what I've seen, the 70s electric cars did not look very serious. They did not look like something. Plus, you have this weird situation where with electric cars, you need them to be, if you're going to drive one regularly, you really want them to be in style, because otherwise there's not going to be charging stations. There's not going to be things there for you to be able to drive your car or service your car. The bigger they are, the more likely it is that you could go to the store and charge up your car. But if like in the 70s they show up and they're like jokes and nobody buys them, then people aren't gonna generally want to invest in charging or anything like that. So it just kind of doesn't make sense to own one anymore.
Well, I guess that's what happens when you put emphasis on research rather than commerce. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't like the idea of like, hey, let's pay, because it's not like, it's let the general populace pay for trying stuff out. I don't like that as much. Like, you need to experiment and try things. That's how you get a lot of these innovations that we have. Even like what's it called? Like the minivan.
Mm-hmm.
That was, hey, let's try something. Let's make a little van.
Yeah.
Or was it the SUV? I can't remember which came first, the truck or the SUV. It was the truck that came first, right?
Yes, the truck's been around a long time.
So with the SUV, they're like, yeah, what if we just put a back on top of the truck?
Right.
So like, there's a reason to do these things, and I feel like it makes sense to try an electric car because we're a lot better at making batteries and stuff now. But at the same time, I don't like, hey, everyone, pay money to research this thing that might not have any sort of market viability, because then it's like,
yeah, it's true. And I guess
cool.
they've been trying again and again. They tried in the 90s and it wasn't very successful, but then around 2003 this company Tesla was founded,
but it's taken a long time for Tesla to do anything, right? Like, it wasn't until like the 20 teens before they actually started to pick up any sort of traction.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, the original founders, Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning, started it, and they named it after Nikola Tesla, who was the I guess you want to call competitor of Edison.
Why you say it like that?
I don't-
mean, isn't that the case?
Well, I guess, but you hear all kind of stories about whether that was fair competition or whatever. But I don't know enough to weigh in on that. So.
There's a lot of stories around Tesla, the guy. There's a lot of folk stories. Even like I can't remember if you've seen. Did you actually see the Prestige, Faith?
No. But Mom was actually talking about that today.
Yeah, because like Tesla's in the Prestige as like this crazy inventor who makes it's like, but that
It was like
just
a mix of magic and electricity.
what
It
he
was very
did
strange.
What he did, yeah, they said it was science, but it was kind of magic. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff around Tesla, real stories around Tesla about that stuff. He was a very smart guy who came up with some cool things, and so I could see how you would want to associate yourself with that, like, oh yeah, we do science, but it's cool science, maybe kind of magic-y.
Right. Was he like an alchemist then? Because that's kind of magic science.
I don't know. I think I've heard associations, but I don't know anything about that because alchemy's not like a real thing.
It's not mainstream, huh?
Well, it's like
I don't know.
Well, people try, but like alchemy's not. Yeah, trying to turn things into gold is not like that's a little different than making a light bulb.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's true.
But no, they named themselves after Tesla, the guy. That has a lot of probably good associations if you're going to try to do something unique in cars.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting to me how their current president got to where he is. Elon Musk bought out most of the shares and then became the chairman and then
Yeah.
CEO in 2008 is when he started when he took over. I guess it was 2004 when he bought all the shares.
Yeah.
But who is this guy anyway? Elon Musk. He just seemed to come out of nowhere.
Who is this guy anyway? Yeah,
I mean,
who is Elon?
I heard, but I wasn't sure who he was.
Apparently, he came from South Africa to the United States to go to Stanford, but then he decided to become a businessman.
So he can't. So he really did become an American, where he went to an expensive college and then dropped out because it wasn't
Yeah.
worth
Right.
it.
Something in common with Zuckerberg, I guess,
Yeah,
and certainly Bill Gates. But anyway,
but so he came from South Africa. Was he okay? Does anyone know? Was he like Was he from like a wealthy family or anything? I guess he probably.
the fact that he's from South Africa, yes,
Okay, not everyone in South Africa is wealthy. There's a lot of poor people in South Africa.
yes,
But it's like
people that look like him are pretty wealthy in South Africa.
some of them, yes. But
Okay.
it's like
And also, he went to Stanford, like
Yes.
straight from there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which also means he's a smart guy.
yeah. And then what was it? Where did Elon Musk make his money? Was it in PayPal that Elon Musk made his money?
Yes,
he
but it
was-
was kind of indirectly. So he started a bank called X.com, which merged with Confinity in 2000 to form PayPal.
Yeah, but I'm saying like it's a little bit around. It took a little bit of getting to get there, but he was still one of the founders of
Yes.
PayPal.
Yes, that's what I
Yeah.
heard about him.
Yeah, so it's
So
like
yeah,
it makes sense that PayPal would be. Yeah, PayPal's worth a ton of money.
right. And eBay
even
bought
today.
it, so that was smart. And
And so
Yeah.
he made his money there, and then he bought the majority. He basically bought Tesla. I mean, if you buy the majority
Right.
of the shares, then
yes,
you
he
buy it.
bought Tesla, and he also then formed it because they had their company up and running, but he put a mission to it, which was to make cool, fast cars that were electric, and also to get rid of fossil fuels, basically.
So before Elon Musk what was Tesla doing? Were they just like, hey, we're a company, we're trying to make electric cars?
Yeah, it sounds like they didn't have the money to really do what they wanted to do until he
Mm.
injected them with something like $6 million, which doesn't sound like very much.
That's not that
but
much money.
No.
But I mean, I know also, I don't know the details. I know they also get a lot of money from the government because they're doing research in electric cars. So it helps
Right.
if you can cover a lot of your R&D costs that way.
True. True.
So, but anyway, his mission. So here's the thing: you mentioned two things from the mission. You said to make cool, fast cars.
To
And-
prove that you can make that electric cars can be cool instead of
Was that something he
Toys
said?
or-
He's
yes.
like, yeah, I'm trying to make prove electric cars can be cool. Okay.
yeah, and fast.
And fast.
Because 20 miles per hour, that's just not gonna cut
That's
it.
not gonna cut it. And to eliminate fossil fuels.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, that's a lofty goal, but it sounds pretty. Here's the thing. I don't honestly, not to get ahead of ourselves, I don't honestly think he's going to eliminate fossil fuels. That's a little far. But it's also does put him in the same sort of ballpark as like Henry Ford or Bill Gates, because they set pretty high goals rather than just like we're here to sell our product. We're gonna get our product in every household. Sounds like that's kind of the goal with Tesla, although eliminating fossil fuels also is a little bit broader than that.
He's starting pretty high price with a high price point too, to get if he wants to get electric cars in everybody's hand. I don't know if that's necessarily what he's trying to do.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know. I'm trying to think, because I know that is a general strategy that has been done a lot of times. I don't know if that's what they there's like, I don't know if that's what Bill Gates was going for on the PC. I don't, because I didn't look this up at a time, and I wasn't around to know.
Right.
If they started high price and then started to go lower.
I don't think so.
Go ahead.
Well, I just know I was around during that time,
Yes.
and there was Apple was around at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and their computers were very expensive,
Yes.
and they weren't necessarily very good. They were
Yeah.
just expensive, and then they had IBM, which I don't think they were even focusing on the consumer market. They
No.
were business,
Yes.
and they had IBMs in schools too,
Yes.
and Macintosh in school. They didn't really
Yes.
have the Microsoft computer was different. I think it was made for consumers, period.
Yeah.
And that's where you end up seeing it.
So that's the weird thing, right? If you wanted to get your electric cars in the houses of every American, or you could say the houses of every person, but that's a little bit of a broader goal. And America's a Tesla company. No, Tesla is an American company. If you wanted to do that, the philosophy of starting expensive and working your way down, it makes sense in terms of like feasibility of like, okay, we can only make the car for this much money and then make it cheaper. Because I don't even know if they make money off Teslas right now. I think they might cost more money to produce than what they're even selling.
No,
for.
they're making some money. I think they sold 900,000 cars last year. So I think they are profitable at this point, and they are trying to fund their expansion by selling the expensive cars first. Yeah. And then that will help them to bring the production up and the price down. At least that's their philosophy.
Because like not generally, you see the opposite strategy employed with some other things. Like with the iPhone, for example. iPhone launched and there was no smartphones. Smartphones didn't exist. The iPhone launched not that expensive. And over time Apple's raised the price as the general install base of smartphones has gone up. So now they're ubiquitous. They can charge a lot more for phones.
Does that make more sense, you think?
That's what's confusing to me, because isn't that more similar to like the Model T? Didn't the Model T start out pretty cheap and then they raised the price over time?
Model T actually got cheaper over time.
Okay, so maybe that is he's just following that strategy, because to start out at a price that they could sell it at and then continue to lower it until it's more and more attainable. Because if it
was like $850 at first, which was still it
hefty.
went from being like half the price of electric, because electric was like $1,700, and then it went down. It moved to $300 per car, and electric at that point was like $3,000. So, electric started high and went higher, and Model T started low and went lower. So,
whereas in this case, the Tesla, I don't think they can afford to sell Teslas at the same price as a gas-powered car, just because with economies of scale, it's just not feasible to keep up with. Like you have a company like Ford, they can just make engines in general and make a few frames and throw their production is set up where they can save a lot more money on their building and assembling their cars than
Right.
Tesla can.
They can do it much quicker, and that Tesla is
much
still kind
cheaper.
of slow putting cars together.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So it kind of makes sense, but it makes it weird because with the Model T, they could afford to start higher than what they wanted to and come down because they were still so much cheaper than electric cars.
Exactly.
But in this case, it's like, well, instead of going for cheap, they're going for cool. Hey, because it means that like the Tesla right now, Teslas are competing with different cars than what they'll be competing with later if the price keeps coming down. Like, how much does a Tesla Model 3 start at? Does anyone know?
I thought they were something like $95,000.
Yeah, like you're competing with a much different car than if they get that car down to be $30,000.
True.
Go
I
on.
think they're winning on marketing. Their marketing is brilliant because it makes people that couldn't possibly afford it still want it.
Yes, and then the supply is still rather low, so they can. But you said they sold how many? 900,000.
Yeah, 900,000. They got 2% market share in 2021.
2021. Okay. Yeah, that's still pretty good. But now there are also a bunch of other electric cars coming out. Like I said, the Super Bowl ad, every single ad was like, "Oh, it's an EV." You see some random, it's a random car ad, but then they have to mention somehow electricity or something. Yeah, like we have an electric car now.
Did they look cool?
Most of the ones in the ads, it just looks like a car, and they're like, "Oh, it's electric," and they're like, "Okay, that's cool, I guess." Good to know.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes me think of like AirPods versus other Bluetooth
Yes.
wireless headphones, and so
Yes.
like, no, you would get a Tesla because it's a Tesla,
Exactly.
not because it's an electric car.
Yeah, it's not.
Well, that's just like an iPhone too.
Yeah,
You want to get those because it's iPhone. And
like you're buying into the brand and the lifestyle, and they both also intentionally are very different than the competitors. From all the stuff I see from most people making electric cars, it's like, hey, here is our car, but this one is electric powered. So instead of driving a Mercedes, you could drive a Mercedes that uses electric power. Whereas Tesla seems to be pushing really far away from traditional car designs. Like, have you guys seen the Tesla dashboards and stuff?
No,
just
what
like
do they look like?
It's just like a big screen. It's a big touch screen.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
So, like, they're very much pushing away from normal cars, so you could get a different experience. Plus, there's all the stuff with, like, how electric cars drive these days in terms of, like, acceleration, because they accelerate much faster than a normal car.
You mean 0 to 60, that kind of thing?
Yeah. They speed up way faster, and they're virtually silent. Like, it's just a very different experience than driving a car.
Are they pushing self-driving features also?
They are. I think Tesla's self-driving features are some of the best that are out. I remember looking this up a while ago. I think they have, like, I think they can kind of steer and they can kind of handle acceleration.
Well, I would think with the fancy dashboard, you'd want it to drive itself so you don't get distracted.
Wow. You want to
I don't know.
Are you going to be in there trying to drive your car and want to play Angry Birds on the screen or something?
Well,
Watch
my
TV?
first thought was Pimp That Ride. And
Pimp That Ride.
I know that's dating me, but
Faith, do
whatever.
you even know what Pimp That Ride is? Pimp My Ride?
I've heard the name, but I don't know what it is.
Okay, did you ever watch Extreme Home Makeover?
Yep.
So you know sometimes when they would just be doing stuff like, I remember the time which as a kid I checked out was when they put sand into someone's house to make like a beach room.
No, that was a
That's-
different show.
But okay,
That
not
was
Extreme Home
Trading
Makeover. Trading
Spaces.
Spaces.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's Trading Spaces. It's like, what are you guys doing?
I know, that was outrageous.
That's what Pimp My Ride was basically. Of like people, it's like, hey, make my car crazy, and they'd do stuff like put a chandelier in your car, and it's just like, what are you doing? So
Yeah.
that so you're
And they put PlayStations in the driver's spot, and I was like, okay.
so you can't be
Crazy.
playing a PlayStation while you're driving. No, I don't think you're gonna be playing games while you're driving the Tesla. But I know, like on the highway, it can handle most of the stuff for you. There's been issues with it where like they need to. I think they legally have to say this is not self-driving because it's not technically self-driving. You have to always like have your hand on the wheel and be ready to take over.
Yes, we
Yeah.
did a TikTok about this.
Yes. So yeah, the Teslas, they have a lot of those features. But anyway, they feel a lot like the iPhone. Like, hey, this is a new thing that is very different. I feel like it's most epitomized by the Cybertruck, which is very controversial because it just straight up doesn't look like a car or truck. It looks like a video game car. It reminds me most of all of like Tron or of watching like some really old CG show.
See,
How
I
they
know.
put the car together, but it
Well-
looks cool.
Well,
Go on.
shoot, I looked up that Cybertruck,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought, wow, it looks like a moon rover, or And then-
wow.
and then I looked up the history of electric cars, and there was an AMC car in '68 that had the same kind of shape as this Cybertruck, and I was like,
It sounds like you're
I
just
roll.
hating. You're just trying to find
No,
an
I mean,
excuse to not
seriously.
like the Cybertruck. It looks cool. I don't care what you guys have to say. Cybertruck looks cool.
I mean,
Okay.
it looks like cool in a way that I wouldn't want to drive it around. But I like how
Mm-hmm.
just like normal like a Ford or Ram truck. I like how those ones look, and so I think truck and I think that, and I don't really like
I agree
the
with
look
Faith,
of Cybertruck.
but Musk agrees with you.
I'm just saying, like, imagine this though, right? Imagine like you drive up in the Cybertruck and get out. Then everybody's gonna look over. Everyone's gonna be paying attention. Nobody really cares if you have a nice Ram. It's just like, oh, nice car.
Exactly the
We
point.
like those.
But
Well, here's-
everyone's gonna look at the Cybertruck.
But Musk says, this is what he tweeted.
Mhm.
To be frank, there's always some chance that Cybertruck will flop because it's so unlike anything else. I don't care. I love it so much, even if others don't. Other trucks look like copies of the same thing, but Cybertruck looks like it was made by aliens from the future.
See, like, and he goes a little bit far. It does not look like aliens. I don't know why aliens from the future would make that car, but it does. It does look like a little kid who was pretty good at drawing. Tried to draw like a cool, fancy future car. That's what it looks like.
That's
But
funny.
the lines. I mean, it looks cool. It looks cyber.
Cyber.
It has lots of cyber in it. That truck does. But yeah, I don't know. Cybertruck. I don't know. Honestly, I don't think I would buy one because it's just like it's way too much for something that I don't see as much. But that's the thing though. Other people are doing electric trucks even now.
Yeah, would you buy an F-150
Is it Lightning?
Lightning? I think it's got a cool name.
I mean, that's a cool name, but no.
Mm-mm.
Okay, the other thing is like, okay, Cybertruck, F1 truck, whatever. Trucks are useful. Do you want a truck that is electric?
Not feeling that myself.
Like, I feel like for a truck, a lot of times you need like more range than you're gonna get out of out of an electric car. You might need to do things that are gonna be inconvenient in an electric car. And do they need larger batteries because of the weight of a truck? In which case, is the charge time higher? Like, it just doesn't seem like a
Yeah.
good fit for electric power for the most part.
I don't know if this is random, but some people that drive trucks, people that drive, cars that are as expensive as a Tesla, like all that fancy engine noise, the emissions noise or whatever you call it.
I don't know about all that. That does.
They like the rev, whereas somebody like myself, I prefer a quieter ride. So I just wonder if it's not women still,
I don't
being
know.
attracted to these kind of cars.
I don't know. Plus, you can always fake the noise. I know they had to do that early on with Teslas. I forget what exactly it was. I think it might have been the engine starting noise. Because it's an electric car, you don't need to start the engine. But people were weirded out by turning on their car and it doesn't sound like anything's happened.
So there's an engine sample in there.
I don't know if it's a sample, but it makes some noise to let you know. So you could always make it loud if you wanted to. Just put speakers in there and fake the noise.
FAIL.
I'm just saying. You could do that. But yeah, I don't think that the quietness of the truck is a feature. I just don't know if anyone's like, this truck's too quiet. I guess it doesn't have any. I just don't see. I guess so, maybe. I don't really see the market for it. I don't really see why.
I mean, would there be like a way to compare gas and the battery in the car, because like trucks have bad gas mileage and you have to fill them up a lot, especially if you're doing a lot of work with it. So I'm not sure.
Our truck's gonna have bad like battery mileage.
Yeah.
I don't know. IDK. I would be surprised if they didn't, because it's just heavier.
That is a good question. I know I found something about how many kilowatts you can get in anyway. But it's a lot of conversions for my little brain to comprehend.
Either way, like even if it has terrible battery mileage, it's still going to be cheaper, or like miles per kilowatt hour. I know, whatever, the way they want to measure it. It's still a lot cheaper. It's going to be a lot cheaper to drive a truck than an electric truck than a gas-powered truck. Just gas is not cheap, and gas is way more expensive today than it's been in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like right now, here's the awkward thing. I feel like right now would be the perfect time for Teslas and for electric cars to be already moved down in price. If they had been 5 years ahead and they were getting kind of affordable now, it would be perfect, because it would make some sense to buy an electric car now while gas prices are so high and just drive that. But they're still so expensive that it's kind of hard to even with that to offset the cost.
I mean, it's true. Plus, it's hard to get a new car of any kind these days. So, yeah.
Good luck actually getting into one.
It's true.
It's a go ahead.
Does it cost a lot to recharge?
No.
The car?
I remember seeing it was something like $30-$40 a month for like but I don't know if that was like a sedan. But either way, like even if you were to say it's a truck, let's double it, that's still not bad at all.
No.
$60-$80 a month versus
$60-$80 a fill up, which
yeah,
would be more like $240 a month.
Yeah, because that's what we're realistically looking at with gas as it is, and it's only trending up. We've only been going up for like weeks now.
True.
So,
but if you're trying to do road trips with your electric car, then it is going to take a little bit more planning to make sure you can find those charging stations, etc.
Right? Like it just doesn't seem very feasible. Like to find the charging stations and then to wait every time, and then again, it's like you have to be a lot more diligent there than you do with gas, because you can't run out of power. Like what if it's not as easy for anyone to help you?
What if you overcharge your battery or your battery wears out? Then what? You had to get a new one in the middle of your road trip?
It's like, any maintenance you need is kind of hard, because especially with a Tesla, because there's not really options. You can't take a Tesla to your mechanic generally and have them work on it, or some random mechanic. You have to take it to Tesla. So like they just don't seem very feasible for a lifestyle that includes road trips or includes having to drive in and out of town. Like it doesn't seem made for basically suburban life. It's only for, or even for country living. It's just for, do you live in a city and you want to have a nice, cool, expensive car?
Right. I
Tesla
guess you would
makes sense.
Fly everywhere and then rent a Tesla once you get to your I don't know.
I guess fly and then walk around. Like it's like it doesn't make sense. I feel like electric cars as they live now don't make a lot of sense as a daily driver. But they could. It's just a big but, because we need to still make like pretty decent leaps, because even if they were priced evenly with gas-powered cars, I don't know if they could be your only car.
Good point.
If they were cheap, maybe you could have a secondary car. It's like your electric car that you drive around town. But as it stands, you can't pick up a toy Tesla for most people. That's not really doable.
No, that's around the third generation. Then you're talking spending $22,000, which is still a little on the high side.
It's a little on the high side for like
people
not being your daily driver.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
good luck finding a good used Tesla.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you go and auction, buy one in a wrecked one in an auction like Goon Squad, and you're still spending tons of money.
And good luck, and good luck trying to fix it too. Like you
Mhm.
could, but there's just they're so new, but there's not a ton of information out there. There's not a ton of like spare parts just floating around. It's not easy to maintain them.
That's true. I mean, I think you got to buy a parts car if you're going
Yeah.
to work on a Tesla.
Like I've heard from people I've heard of, like just influencers and stuff who drive Teslas. A lot of times, if they have to take their car in, they literally will just get another Tesla from the dealership for like the month or so it takes for them to work on their car, because
A month.
it's just like there's no other option. What else are you gonna do? So yeah.
Mhm.
Overall, would either of you consider an electric car? Next time you were gonna buy a car, would you even think about an electric car, or would it not?
No.
Now Zep,
I don't.
go ahead.
Wait. Sorry.
If you were gonna buy a car today, would you even consider an electric car?
I mean, if I had money for it, I think that it could be cool. It would be. Mostly, I'm just thinking it would be nice to not spend that much money on gas.
Right?
Probably not around here,
Yeah.
but yeah.
'Cause we don't live like the big shitty folks, you know.
I mean, you could drive down the street to the college to charge your car, but you wouldn't need to charge it on that short of a
I was
drive.
gonna say, yeah, you're just driving a few
Yeah.
feet anyway.
Right.
But would you okay? If money was no object, would you consider an electric car? Would you still say, nah,
I'm not really interested. I'm not. I don't know.
just not about it?
Right. I mean, who knows? If they're fast and quiet and self-driving
Mm-hmm.
in the future, maybe. But
In the future. But as
about
for
you?
now, no.
right.
I don't know. I'd say probably no for now. They're cool, but not cool enough that I would say I want to drive this every day. Cybertruck is cool, but I also wouldn't want to drive that.
I would rather do the F-150 Lightning. I was just looking
At
at
that
those are beautiful.
But at that point, I would just rather buy an F-150. Like,
Yeah.
why would I buy
It's
the Lightning?
true.
They'd just buy a Ford truck at that point.
Yeah.
All right. Any other crazy electric car facts, fun things you got? Anyone wants to mention? I hope you don't have any electric car jokes. That would be a little cringy.
That would you being lucky. No, I don't have any electric car jokes.
Okay. Well, that was another episode in the books of the Big Red Podcast. Thanks for joining us. Have a good day. See you.